So just a brief history to give you a bit of background. Born Michael Peterson in 1952, better known as Charles Bronson, was a career criminal. He was born in Luton, but at the age of 4 moved to Ellesmere Port in Cheshire, and by the age of 13 he was a part of a gang of 4 robbers who were always being caught stealing. He ended up in a juvenile court and in and out of Borstal style youth offenders institutes. Later in life he moved back to Luton, which he refers to his own town, and flitted from job to job, working in Tesco stacking shelves, working as a hod carrier, and working in various factories, and also working as a bad guy in Sonic the Hedgehog games, but never really lasting because of his violent outbursts. At the age of 22 he was convicted of armed robbery and got 7 years imprisonment. He was sent to Walton prison, but soon ended up in the punishment block for attacking 2 prisoners without being provoked. And whilst in prison he soon gained a reputation for extreme violence. He attacked fellow prisoners and officers. He was moved from Armley prison to Wakefield to Parkhurst and back to Walton. He was even taken from Yorkshire to London, chained to the floor of the prison van. And this kind of violence led him to Broadmoor Secure Hospital. Unable to adapt to forced medication and the company of highly disturbed and highly dangerous patients, Bronson attempted to strangle child rapist and murderer John White. He was apprehended just before White was giving out his death rattle. He was returned to Broadmoor and stayed there for many years, but was eventually released after completing his sentence in 1987. It was this release that saw him become notorious, not only amongst the criminal underworld, but amongst people at home, because he got himself in the press as a bare-knuckle fighter. He changed his name from Michael Peterson to Charles Bronson on the advice of his fighting promoter, Paul Edmonds. Although he had never seen a film starring the American actor Charles Bronson, he was still his favourite, so he took up the namesake. He was offered to fight the famous Lenny McLean, but refused. It's also said that he killed a Rottweiler with his bare hands for £10,000 in an underground fight. Later he said it's nothing he's proud of because he loves animals. And on the New Year's Day of 1988, to surprise his then girlfriend Alison, he robbed a jewellery shop, kept the ring for her and sold the rest on. The arresting officers charged him under his fighting name Charles Bronson, and he decided at that moment to give up the name Michael Peterson. To this day, he's never been released from this sentence. He spent many of his years in various prisons up and down the country, being very violent, still again mostly towards prison officers, but to fellow inmates too. He did get to show his calmer and more creative side though, winning many awards for his art and even writing books. One, his autobiography, and another about fitness in small spaces. In 2001, he married Fatima Rahman, a Bangladesh-born divorcee. She'd seen his picture in the paper and began writing to him. She'd visited him 10 times before they got married. She had worked at a woman's shelter before they met, but lost her job when the employer found out about the relationship. For a short time, Bronson converted to his wife's faith of Islam, wishing to be known as Charles Ali Ahmed, but did not change his name legally. After 4 years and Raymond divorced, he renounced Islam completely. During this period, Bronson appealed against his life sentence, but 3 appeal court judges rejected the application in 2004. In court, with 6 prison guards surrounding him, Bronson said his wife and her daughter were helping to rehabilitate him, and the references about his character, including reports from psychiatrists, were very positive on this occasion. He felt confident he would get parole, and it was a big blow when he didn't get it. He returned to prison and the violence continued. In 2007, 2 prison staff members at Full Sutton High Security Dispersal Prison in the East Ridings of Yorkshire were involved in a control and restrain incident known as a CNR, in an attempt to prevent another hostage situation during which Bronson had his glasses broken. Bronson received £200 compensation for his broken glasses, despite being the culprit in the mess. Bronson remained a Category A prisoner when he was moved to Wakefield High Security Prison, Monster Mansion. He was due for a parole hearing in September 2008, but this was postponed when his lawyer objected to a 1-hour parole interview, requesting a full day to deal with the Bronson case. The parole hearing took place on the 11th of March 2009, and the board refused parole shortly afterwards. The violence continued, and in 2014 he even attacked a prison governor in a television room in HMP Woodall over a dispute that his mail was being withheld, including 2 letters from his mother. The governor suffered serious bruising in July 2014. Bronson was sentenced to 2 years. The prison accepted that his mail had been unacceptably processed, but his violence continued. He had this pattern of behaving for a short while, applying for parole getting declined, and him getting violent again. Once it was over, it would start up all over. So he wasn't reformed, he was just acting. This brought him to the press's attention, and actress Paula Williamson, known for roles in Coronation Street and Emmerdale, started to visit him. And within 5 months of him visiting, they were married. Wait, happy times, eh? She had high hopes for him being released on her 40th birthday, which would have been in August 2020. But before then, a picture arrived in the newspapers of a British holiday goer motorboating her on their boobies. It was alleged that him and his friends went to her apartment and had a good time. Upon seeing this, he just wanted her dead. He just wanted to kill her, and he wanted a divorce. But she took matter into her own hands and took a lethal overdose of drugs. And now Mr. Salvador is saying he wants to kill the drug dealer who gave her the drugs. Him saying this, that's keeping him in prison still. He can't get a parole hearing because he's saying that he wants to kill this drug dealer. Now this is relevant to all UK prisoners because he has this constant battle with the parole board not giving him parole. So he took the government to court, saying that it's very, very unfair. You go to court, you're innocent till proven guilty. You're proven guilty, you go to prison, fair enough. But it's all done publicly. Justice has to be seen. But this is not the case for parole hearings. They're done in private. There's no public access to the records, no public gallery. He has argued that this is unfair because the public can't see justice being done and that people's opinions are hidden. So if the parole board just don't like Mr. Bronson, Mr. Salvador, whatever he's calling himself, Mr. Peterson, that they can just block his release, and it's unfair. And he's won this case, and this is important for everybody because it means at some point in the future all parole hearings will be made public and all parole decisions were based on facts, evidence and expert opinion, and not just whether the parole board are having a good day, a bad day, whether they know the client, the prisoner and that. So it should make good people, or good prisoners should I say, easier to get parole in future and keep the bad ones in for longer. That's the theory behind it anyway. And It's certainly good news for the prison service because it makes it that little bit more transparent and better for everybody involved. Let me know if you think this is good or bad in the comments.